The number of people protesting continues its way back and forth. The peaceful protesters, while they had a few days of shrinking in number, they started to come back out again in larger force, especially once there was a little bit of a glimmer of internet traffic. We've seen mountains of information coming out from the IRGC, which is all obviously propaganda. I mean, it's just, you can just see the videos. They can't even lie well. There was a report recently of some 60,000 weapons being seized by the Iranian government. Those weapons was a truckload of knives. It looked like they raided a kitchen store or a camping store. Literally just knives. Not a single gun was shown in this video, propaganda video they made. We're seeing tons of misinformation and lies from the Iranian dictatorship right now. And the people on the street who have been fighting with their fists and with weapons, like guns, actually, and other things, have been growing. We're seeing more videos coming out from people who somehow managed to get out content that they've recorded in the last 2 weeks since the beginning of the internet blackout really began. And that does not seem to be stopping. Of course, the internet is right now heavily censored, heavily filtered, heavily surveyed, monitored by the people running the occupation government in Iran. And so it's very risky for people to put stuff out there, even if they use VPNs and things. The government is trying to stop everything they can coming out from that area. And one of the reasons that they probably opened up the gates a little bit is precisely to catch people who are posting content on social media and everywhere else. By the way, if you haven't seen the latest song that I posted to my ZenTap Talk channel, go check it out. It's on YouTube at ZenTap Talks. I made a song, published it yesterday, or this late last night, early this morning, my time, for the people of Iran, in support, of course, of the revolution against the dictatorship. What else is happening is we're seeing a lot of kinetic motion still. We've seen some things pull back. We've seen more things enter the theater. This is not done by any means. Hello there. How are you? Does it say, have you got a, what? I don't know what you're asking me, but anyway, thanks for liking and subscribing. If you haven't done that already, please do help me get the word out to more people. Let's help inform people about the terrible things happening in Iran right now and the fight for freedom that people are standing up for to take down this dictatorship that's currently oppressing them since 47 years. It's time the Ayatollah goes. So like I said, there's more kinetic action happening. We're seeing assets being moved out of theater and some being moved in theater. Meanwhile, we still see reports that the Abraham Lincoln is still a couple of days away. It's now past the Straits of Malaysia, past Banda Aceh and all that stuff, and on its way to towards Sri Lanka, and then we'll swoop up towards the Persian Gulf area after that. There were lots of misinformation reports coming out a few days ago, about 4 or 5 days ago already, that it was already off the coast of Oman. There's a number of reasons for that, and the misinformation, let me just say, can be very useful at times when you are building up necessary assets to take on a kinetic fight against a dictatorship oppressing a country of some 93 million people or so. So yes, misinformation indeed. And there you go. You're welcome. Nevertheless, the fight by the people in Iran still goes forward. They are bravely standing up. We've seen in coverage on Meyer, 2C TV, live streams, as well as, of course, Goldie Gamari and Armin Navabi. Sorry if I pronounced your last name wrong there, buddy. They've been doing incredibly long live streams. I think sometimes 6 or even 8 hours in a row, something crazy. Just covering every single detail that's been coming out of Iran and news about Iran around the world. They've been playing songs, they've been, covering commentary, news analysis, every little tweet that comes out, every speech that's made about it, everything. Comments from internet people, random internet users who have something to say about it. They've been doing a fantastic job. Please, not like they need my help with my piddly amount of viewers, but by the way, I love you guys all for subscribing. Really appreciate your support and your comments that you leave me. That's the best, really. But yeah, they have been doing a great job, as has Navid Ansari and a bunch of other great people who are making content about what's happening in Iran. Obviously, Sahar from official Sahar TV has been doing some great content. He, in fact, appeared on Goldie and Armin's live stream yesterday. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. Official Sahar TV on YouTube. And Tal Oran, the Traveling Cloud, also has been doing a lot of content about Iran, getting the word out. He recently posted on Twitter, X or whatever, a post that he says came to him from the IRGC, where they basically were threatening him. They threatened to come and kidnap him and take him back to Iran and put him in prison with all the other Zionists that they've captured. And they included a couple of AI images of him being in handcuffs, being led away from some kind of Muslim aircraft, Muslim logo emblazoned aircraft, been led away by a couple of obviously terrorists wearing green bandanas, with signs on their chests that read Hamas. I just thought that was very funny that they couldn't even spell Hamas correctly, if that's what they intended to have there. But anyway, obviously people who make content against this regime, we are all in violation of the Islamic principles. Yeah, well, we're going to keep being in violation of your stupid principles because this fight is about freedom for the people of Iran. And here in Israel, the people of Israel stand with the people of Iran. And people around the world are beginning to stand with the people of Iran. Once again, Israel leads the way with this. It should be to no one's surprise. The last 2.5 years or so, 2 years and a few months, since the war started on October 7th, because of Hamas's invasion of Israel, which they did after being literally trained and supplied by the dictatorship in Iran, the people of Iran stood with Israel at protests around the world. Yeah, if you notice the protests that were pro-Israel, pretty much all of them had at least somebody waving the flag of Iran with the lion and the sun. And, well, this is our way of not just saying thank you, but showing that we support you. We support what you're doing. And in any way that we can, we want to help, even if it's just to get the word out, like I'm doing here, trying to inform people about what's happening over there. It is a crazy time in Iran right now. Absolutely bonkers. This is a full-on revolution. It's not happening the way that it could have ended much quicker, in my opinion. I've told you guys about that. They needed to do a massive stampede all at once across the entire country, throughout all the institutions and military installations. But they didn't do that. Instead, they gave the IRGC time to build up their forces by bringing in foreigners and, having basically freelance killers go around the streets of Iran and murder up to now suspected tens of thousands, anywhere from 10 to 30 or maybe more, 50,000 are suspected. And honestly, in a country the size of Iran, if it's less than 100, 150,000 people, when the numbers are actually finally tallied, I'd be surprised. Because we're seeing the IRGC literally open up automatic gunfire on crowds of people just walking down the street, chanting, "Death to the dictator, death to the regime, death to the IRGC," right? And Javed Shah, they're also saying lots. So anybody doing that is now called a terrorist, and they're being murdered in cold blood in the streets. In addition to that, they are literally being forced to pay to recover anybody that's been killed. So if you have a family member who's been murdered by the IRGC, then it is incumbent upon you to pay thousands of dollars. I've seen prices anywhere from $2,000 to $8,000. Average I've seen is around $4,000 for somebody to get the body of a loved one back. And keep in mind, that is a lot of money for the average Iranian. Like a lot of money. But the average Iranian, whose currency is completely collapsed also in recent weeks, which is one of the reasons that these protests started in the first place. So we are seeing literally people who can't afford to pay for the privilege of recovering, right, which should be a right, the privilege of recovering their fallen loved ones, their murdered loved ones. If they can't pay, then they have to sign a piece of paper that says that they were killed by terrorists. In other words, putting the blame where it does not belong. They have to falsify the truth, to falsify the facts, or the statements about the facts in order to get their loved ones' bodies back if they can't afford to pay for it. And obviously most people cannot afford to pay for it. So that means that the government is propagandizing this by saying, look, all these people signed that their loved ones were murdered by terrorists. And who they call terrorists are, of course, people fighting against the IRGC. People literally fighting against the dictatorship, right? They're quite the opposite of terrorists. They're not aiming at innocent people. They're not targeting civilians. They're literally fighting a military organization that operates in terroristic ways, that kills innocent people, right? That targets them on purpose, just kills them in cold blood. So propaganda knows no end in the IRGC and Ayatollah's regime. They are behaving as you would expect them to do. And Israel and America, meanwhile, and hopefully other forces, we've seen the UK also involved, and France, they were all involved in Syria. Israel didn't, I don't think, participate in that directly kinetically, but maybe had something else to do with it. But the UK, France, and US all took actions in Syria, which has led now to a kind of a ceasefire and a truce and a kind of a peace deal sort of thing, where the SDF basically surrendered. Wasn't exactly a win for the West here, let's be honest. They're now being recruited into the Ministry of Defense, the Al-Shara terrorist organization that runs Syria at the moment. But the people of Iran still keep fighting, and they are hoping that there will be some help from the outside. But even if not, they seem hell-bent on making sure they win this time. So that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys later. Be back in a little while. Peace and shalom.